Fellow delegates and honored guests, good morning. It has been a great CIF conference, and we have been so impressed by all of your presentations. We hope that you all take away from our presentation as much as we have taken away from all of yours. For me, it has been an honor to be in the city, and Masako, this has been a dream come true. Thank you for hosting this. Without further ado, my name is Christopher Cruz Colorado.
And my name is Leslie Talon, and today we're presenting Community Initiatives, Nuclear Literacy, Policy Legislation, and Social Media, engaging the youth through education to achieve a nuclear weapon-free world.
Quite a mouthful, but the CTBT. As you all may know now, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty bans all forms of explosive nuclear testing and was developed to help curb the spread of nuclear weapons and impede a nuclear arms competition. The CTBT opened for signature a little more than 20 years ago and has since been signed by 182 nations, but only ratified by 153. Despite policy experts' confidence that the CTBT would significantly reduce the threat of nuclear proliferation, the CTBT entry into force awaits ratification by 8 states. Among them are China, India, Egypt, Iran, North Korea, Israel, Pakistan, and most importantly, our home country, the United States of America. We'd like to briefly present to you some of the arguments in the domestic debate of the United States regarding the ratification of the CTBT. Well, the current arguments in favor of ratifying the CTBT address risks to human health and the environment, as well as the Article 6 obligations outlined in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The ratification of the CTBT would prevent radioactive fallout risks, such as those that occurred in Semipalatinsk, the Pacific, and the Nevada testing grounds, wherein residents were heavily exposed to the radioactive fallout, resulting in high cancer rates, genetic abnormalities, and related health problems as outlined in yesterday's keynote lecture. Diplomatically, ratifying the CTBT would ensure that the United States would be taking bold steps in meeting our Article 6 obligations and securing our progress towards a nuclear-free world. Finally, meeting our Article 6 obligations would restore trust in the United States as the moral leader for nuclear disarmament and rebuild confidence in the nuclear disarmament regime.
On the other side of the spectrum, those opposed to the U.S. ratification of the CTBT have argued that in this age, there's global danger because of countries such as North Korea. Nuclear weapons serve as a real deterrence capability because no one will attack the U.S. as long as we maintain our nuclear arsenal. They argue that the deterrence proved successful during the Cold War since no nuclear exchange occurred even when tensions were most high. So in order for the deterrence to make any type of sense, we need a reliable nuclear arsenal. Secondly, the U.S. has an aging nuclear arsenal, so we need to test it to make sure that all nuclear missiles, aging and modern, work. In light of recent actions by the Kremlin, the U.S. needs to keep up with Russia's nuclear modernization. Furthermore, by signing the CTBT, the U.S. is locking themselves in a bad position because there is no assurance that countries will actually follow through. There is a lack of transparency among countries, and there is no way to truly verify that countries are conducting secret tests. Past examples of this includes North Korea's and Iran's clandestine nuclear programs.
But our research and interviews with nuclear experts such as Dr. David Krieger of the Nuclear Age Peace Foundation on the left, and former U.S. Defense Secretary William J. Perry have taught us that these arguments do not hold up. First of all, the notion that nuclear deterrence is a reliable strategy, it is a myth. Nuclear weapon states are more at risk of a nuclear attack simply by possessing them. Secondly, deterrence assumes that the attackers are rational state actors. If you didn't know, the September 11 attacks in New York were a result of non-state actors. In other words, terrorists who had no direct affiliation with an actual government. These are people who are not intimidated, much less deterred by our nuclear arsenal. We're also assuming that the would-be offenders for the second point, nuclear testing is no longer necessary to ensure the reliability of our nuclear weapons, and this has been proven by our previous CIF schools. There's a reason we are heavily dependent on technology nowadays. We are capable of checking the lifespan of our nukes using computer simulations, as well as the ongoing subcritical tests. Likewise, most of our nuclear weapons have a shelf life of 45 to 85 years. And so, if we expect to have nuclear weapons for the near future, we have to catch on to the idea that ratifying the CTBT and having a nuclear arsenal is not mutually exclusive. Another thing, having the US ratify the CTBT does not place our country in a bad position. If anything, we are demonstrating our eagerness in completing our nuclear disarmament journey and meeting our Article 6 obligations and promote others to follow suit.
Lastly, verification is not impossible. The International Monitoring System, which is a state-of-the-art nuclear monitoring program, is designed to pick up unauthorized nuclear tests thanks to its 337 facilities across the world. These include seismic, hydroacoustic, and infrasound technologies, as well as radioactive isotopes collecting vehicles and stations. And they have proven to work. How do you think we were able to locate the 2006 and 13 North Korean nuclear tests? The IMS picks up disturbances on the Earth, as well as free-flowing particles that get kicked up to the atmosphere. And so, as Chris previously stated, these anti-CTBT arguments do not hold up to much scrutiny. And so the only path we see forward is the ratification of the CTBT, but it shouldn't stop there. At the conclusion of the 2000 NPT Review Conference, all members agreed to 13 practical steps for nuclear disarmament, including all nuclear weapon states in attendance. We feel that these 13 steps are the best way to achieve real and sustainable nuclear disarmament. So to begin with, the CTBT is essentially the foundation of nuclear disarmament, and we owe it to the hard work of Dr. Servo and his predecessors, to ourselves, and to all humanity to ratify the CTBT immediately.
Once the CTBT is ratified, then a unilateral and multilateral nuclear test moratorium would stop all nuclear tests. We foresee this including computer simulations and the ongoing subcritical testing. Aside from North Korea's tests, no other countries have conducted nuclear tests since the 1998 Indian and Pakistani nuclear tests.
And once we stop testing, that should signal to all countries to sign and ratify the Fissile Material Cutoff Treaty to ban the production of highly enriched uranium and plutonium for nuclear weapon purposes. This commitment from all countries will symbolize a commitment to increase the nuclear arsenal any further.
And with a virtual moratorium on nuclear arsenal buildups, the world can participate in truly productive discussions, and a realistic and practical path towards nuclear disarmament can finally commence.
And once those discussions have begun, states should commence to practical, legal, and scientific dismantling of existing arsenal and prevent any future rearmament. This would include the destruction of fissile material components for warheads, the elimination of fissile material and conversion facilities, and the dismantling of any nuclear delivery vehicle.
Then, with the active undertaking to make existing nuclear arsenals irreversible, the United States and Russia can begin unilateral and bilateral reductions, thus meeting their Article 6 obligations.
Russia and the United States should then pursue international treaties. For example, if they could recommit to an additional START treaty, like the 2000 New START Treaty, and rejoin the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, it would represent mutual commitments from all countries to current anti-defense system and promote mutual peace through bilateral reductions.
To prepare for the incoming influx of weapons-grade fissile material, the US, Russia, and the IAEA should begin developing methods to secure and verify excess fissile materials from the United States and Russia, as they possess significantly more fissile material than the other nuclear weapon states combined. The selection of a secure storage facility and monitoring procedures would place the fissile material out of military and/or terrorist hands intent on repurposing them and or stealing them.
And as the United States and Russia continue their bilateral reductions, then other nuclear weapon states should continue towards nuclear disarmament. This would include unilateral reductions reduction, removal of tactical and strategical warheads from high alert status, and increased transparency and monitoring as confidence-building measures.
Once the fissile material storage facility is established, all nuclear weapon states should begin depositing their fissile material that is no longer required for military purposes. These safeguards would further reduce the nuclear arsenals of all nuclear weapon states and secure them for military and terrorist programs intent on using them. Once again, going to that idea.
By the time we secure fissile material, ban testing, and join a New START treaty, that should ensure that all nations are on board with complete nuclear disarmament. Then we could finally begin gradual and phased global reductions to accomplish the total elimination of nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapon states, must maintain their commitment to global zero by releasing regular and honest reports on their nuclear disarmament progress and ensuring that they execute nuclear disarmament in good faith by meeting all agreements, conditions, and deadlines. And then, just like that, we will achieve global zero, a world free of nuclear weapons.
But we must remain vigilant. The technology and knowledge of nuclear weapons cannot be unlearned or unmade by society, so we must ensure that no country, rogue nation, or terrorist group can ever become a nuclear power again. As you can see, it's just that easy. 13 simple, practical steps. So now the question is, why haven't we done this? What's preventing us from accomplishing real nuclear disarmament? Well, none of this is possible if there isn't enough people engaged and active on promoting this issue. The students in this room and this conference overall are a great initiation of what can be accomplished for nuclear disarmament. But if the students here are the only students pushing and advocating for nuclear disarmament, this isn't enough to amass the political will necessary to convince our politicians to take action. The true issue lies with the numbers. It is evident that our politicians will not take action unless they see a great number of people active and promoting this issue. We must engage the youth and turn civil society into a force that cannot be stopped when it comes to nuclear disarmament.
To create this force to be reckoned with, aka the political will necessary, we created 4 action steps that could easily be emulated by other high schools such as you all. We feel confident that these steps will create a solid foundation for youth activism.
To begin with, we felt it was so important for schools to create a symbolic statement to ally themselves with nuclear coalitions, so we tried to declare our school, Mohan, a nuclear weapon-free zone. While we obviously don't expect to transport or have nuclear weapons stored at Mohan, it is important to take a symbolic stance against these terrible weapons. We wrote up a declaration emulating the Berkeley and Oakland Act, and our goal was to get 80% participation from all students. We share our message throughout our campus by developing a presentation that had emphasis on the humanitarian effects and why nuclear weapons affect us all. We wanted students to realize that they too can take action. And last week, we successfully obtained the necessary signatures, and I'm so proud to officially announce here that our school, Dr. Olga High School, is officially a nuclear weapon-free zone.
Upon our return, we will be holding a small ceremony to install the signs on our campus as a constant reminder of our commitment to nuclear disarmament. Building off of that idea, we hope to encourage other schools, including our fellow CIF schools present right now, to become influencers in this international discussion. And by doing that, we encourage you all to declare yourselves nuclear weapons-free zones and begin to spread this message to other schools around you, just as we have and are doing in California. All big things start small, and we hope that this grassroots movement of high schools will become a national movement and bring about international change. So as we focus on our local communities and networks, we also plan to make social media work to our advantage and change the way people think about nuclear weapons. By doing that, we hope to create memes with quick facts that would not just cause humor, but stir up a reaction within the user. These little quirks will help us go a long way in creating more awareness to our fellow citizens and residents. We want to make the topic of nuclear disarmament a household topic. In this age of social media and texting, the millennial generation responds rather quickly to memes. But whether this be through humor, frustration, surprise, and or confusion,
statistics regarding nuclear weapons from the National Priorities website. With the current onslaught of fake news accusations, it is important now more than ever to be well informed and to contact their people's representatives and ask them why. Why is Wallingford, Connecticut spending $1.35 million on nuclear weapons when they can be investing that on 128 additional Head Start slots for children?
Why is Janesville, Wisconsin spending $2.89 million on nuclear weapons when they can invest that same money on providing 1,936 low-income children with quality health care?
And why is San Jose, California spending $81.88 million on nuclear weapons when they can be investing that money to create 818 jobs with current and high poverty communities?
And why? Why is Pacific Grove, California spending $1.15 million on nuclear weapons when they can invest that same money on 93 military veterans and give them their medical health care that they so much deserve?
And lastly, why is Honolulu, Hawaii spending $49.67 million on nuclear weapons when they can be investing that money to give 1,560 scholarships for university students for 4 years? We encourage you to go to the National Priorities website to learn more about the missed opportunities in each and every one of your community, so you too can contact your representatives and ask them why. We also recognize that as important as the CIF program is, it doesn't reach enough students to promote change fast enough. High schools do not really teach about real dangers or effects of nuclear weapons. And so, we felt it was necessary to create standalone high school curriculum modules to promote nuclear non-proliferation across different disciplines. For instance, in our history classes, we can add hibakusha stories of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attack. In our science classes, we can further teach about the consequences of nuclear winter. We also hope to take advantage of resources such as the UN and ICANN to further support the creation of this high school curriculum.
So if you haven't noticed, we all have a similar way of thinking in educating our youth. And while we recognize that educational resources can be made available, there is no guarantee that they will be actively included in classroom curricula. As such, we are actively promoting the adoption of California legislation to include the teaching of nuclear literacy in the California Education Code. Modeled after the adoption of the Armenian Genocide Education Act, we have written to our state representatives to push for the adoption of a nuclear disarmament curriculum. We hope to encourage the public through our social media and nuclear weapons-free zone campaigns by using these platforms to encourage students to contact their representatives and demand the change that we deserve. We don't want people to say, nukes are bad, without really knowing why. We need them to understand that this is a dire issue at hand, and that we need to join together as a single body with many parts so that our politicians acknowledge that the use of nuclear weapons and the possession of them is irrational. Once that happens, we hope to see other states follow suit and create a national message that we care about the safety of our civilization and want to achieve a nuclear-free world for us and for the generations to follow.
The road to global zero can only be achieved with the support of the people. In the coming days, months, and years, we hope that any and all of these steps will lead to a world without nuclear weapons. 20 years has passed since the CTBT opened for signature. We cannot wait another 20 years. The 13 practical steps have been laid out for our generation, and it is time to take the first step together.
We know you will all join us in engaging youth through education to achieve a nuclear weapons-free world. Because we can do better together for everyone, and the time for action is none other than right now. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, we would gladly answer them. The back.
Thanks for the presentation. I was so impressed by your the way you present as well as your statement. So, you mentioned that approach to principal, like or like mayor or the country principal or something like that. I want to hear the concrete measure if you have an idea. Thank you.
My apologies. Could you repeat the question again, please?
Oh yeah. So basically, I want to know how to achieve the nuclear-free zone of like school-wise.
Oh.
Nuclear-free zone. Are you going to go ask school principal or city mayor or something like that? Do you have? If you have any concrete measure, I want to hear that. Thank you.
His question was, how did we become a nuclear weapons-free zone and how to make other schools nuclear weapons-free zones? So, do you want to?
Well, first of all, we created our declaration by emulating the Oakland and Berkeley Nuclear Weapon Act, and we basically wrote up that declaration similar to that, and then we made sure that every student from our campus was aware of this decision. So we made presentations to like the advisories to inform the students of what was the declaration about, and we basically wanted all students to know that the declaration was important to us and how they too can take action.
Yeah, it was a rather informative PowerPoint presentation that we gave to all our students. And while we acknowledge that we won't get everyone on board with it, we have gathered the majority of the people and demonstrated that there is a large interest in making ourselves a nuclear weapons-free zone. We gathered their signatures to prove this, to have this as credible proof.
Again, we encourage you to also declare your school's nuclear weapon-free zones by going to advisories, a petition, and writing up a declaration. Thank you.
Thank you. It was
I
wonderful
hope that answered your
presentation.